Parshas Ki Sisa, Tavshin Ayin Ches. We're actually recording this year on S.S.S, just about a half hour before we daven Ma'ariv and learn the Megillah. Just this year, being that Purim comes out on Thursday and our shir is always on Thursday night, I'm not sure what kind of a state everybody will be in this Thursday night. So we're going to do the shir right now on Wednesday night. And at the beginning of our Parshas Ki Sisa, right after the mitzvah of Machzis HaShekel, the Torah gives us the commandment, the Torah speaks to us about the kiyar. And the pasuk says as follows, Sisa kiyar nechoshes. You should make the kiyar out of nechoshes, out of copper. V'chanoi nechoshes l'rachta. The kiyar and the kanoi were both made out of copper, and it was there so they can wash themselves before they enter the Oyel Moed. And the psukim continue, V'rachatzu aharoin uvanov mimenu Aaron and his children should wash from the kiyar as yideihem v'es ragleihem, their hands and their feet. Then b'vayom el Oyel Moed, when they come to the Oyel Moed, yirchatzu mayim, they should wash themselves with the water before they enter the Oyel Moed. So firstly, the Mefarshim ask here, why the Parsha of the Kiyar is not written along with the Parshios of all the other Kalim, and all the Kalim of the Mishkan where we spoke about in Parshas Teruma a couple of weeks ago. We had in Parshas Teruma, we spoke about the Shulchan and the Menorah and all the other parts of the Oyel Moed. And for some reason we waited until Parshas Ki Sisa, until this week, to speak about the kiyar. Why here, after we already spoke about the Machzis HaShekel, we go ahead and we speak about the kiyar? So too, another question asked in Nesivos Shalom, why were the kiyar and all its accessory kalim made out of nechoshes, out of copper? It would seem that specifically the Torah tells us it's not gold, it's not silver, we make these out of copper. And so, besides the fact that the kiyar was made out of copper, it was also placed right outside the Oyel Moed, right next to the Mizbeach, which is also outside the Oyel Moed. The Mizbeach HaChitzon was also made out of copper. So it seems that we had a few things before the Oyel Moed, prior to entering the Oyel Moed, there were a few things made out of nechoshes right there. So Nesivos Shalom tells us that we have to know that the Beis HaMikdash, and maybe in our case the Mishkan, Nesivos Shalom speaks about it as the Beis HaMikdash, but the Beis HaMikdash was actually like a microcosm of a person. And a person, says in Nesivos Shalom, has three levels. We have the level of our minds, and then we have the level of our hearts, which is at a bit of a lower level, and then we have the limbs of a person, all the Eivarim of the person, which actually do the mundane activities of a human being. And the job of a person, says in Nesivos Shalom, is to understand that we have three different levels, and our job is to lift up each facet and each part of a person. We take it and we lift it up, and we use each one of our levels to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And really, he says, the Kodesh Kodashim, the holiest part of the Mishkan, was connected the mind of a person, which is the highest part of a person. The Heichal, that part of the Beis HaMikdash, the Heichal, the beginning, that which existed outside the Kodesh Kodashim, before the Kodesh Kodashim, was connected the heart of a person. And the limbs of a person, the Chotzer, represented the limbs of a person which were on the lowest of the three levels. And each part of the Beis HaMikdash was there to bring Kedusha. Each part of the Beis HaMikdash was there to spread Kedusha onto each and every person, and each in its own way, on a higher level, a level that was a little bit lower, and then the lowest of the three levels. The kiyar, says the Nesivos Shalom, was there to give us the opportunity before we entered the Chotzer, the Heichal, the Kodesh Kodashim, before we entered all the holiest parts of the Beis HaMikdash. The kiyar was there to give us the opportunity to prepare before we come to do the avodah. Because if you think about it, how can a person that may have just done anything in their lives, how can a person feel that they are on a level to have an audience with the Shekhinah? How can a person come close to Hashem? So the Torah tells us how a person could come close to Hashem. You want to come daven to Hashem. You want to be close to Hashem. The Torah gives us the parsha of the Kiyar to tell us that before entering, there's washing your hands and your feet. There's preparing. Before you come to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we must have preparation. We are mikadesh, our hands and feet. And the washing, says in Nesivos Shalom, represents tshuva. Before a person comes to have an audience with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you sort of wash yourself, and that is tshuva, where a person prepares themselves and cleanses themselves from what they may have done before. When a person does tshuva, then you are able to come close to Hashem. And that's really what the Kiyar represented. The Kiyar is teaching us that life is not magic, that you must prepare before you have an audience, before you come close to Hashem. You need to have preparation. And the preparation at the Beis HaMikdash was washing yourselves with the water. And then Divrei Shmuel, Nesivos Shalom brings from the Divrei Shmuel, he says that water alludes to tshuva. And that water is represented, tshuva is many times represented by the Zarakti Alechem Mayim Tehirim, which we're actually going to have in the Haftarah, Parshas Parah, coming up next week. There are different types of tshuva. And really, sometimes there's a pinpoint tshuva, where you're doing tshuva on a specific avera, and other times there is a more general tshuva, where we want to uproot all of our bad tendencies. We want to uproot them. And that was the Kiyar. The Kiyar was a general tshuva, where a person can wash their hands and feet. The Kiyar was the washing and the preparation before entering the Beis HaMikdash. And that's why the Kiyar was different than all the other Kalim. All the other Kalim, we did an Avodah with them. The Kiyar was something different. Before you go and do the Avodah, preparation. You need to prepare yourself. And it's for that reason why the Parsha of the Kiyar is here in its own Parsha, in Parshas Ki Sisa, at the beginning of our Parsha, and it's not put with the other Kalim. The other Kalim are meant for when you're already on the level, and you're already able to come and do the Avodah. You're already able to have the audience with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Kiyar is saying beforehand, there's preparation. So the Kiyar gets its own Parsha. It does not go with all the other Kalim of the Mishkan in Parshas Truma. And then Nesivos Shalom says a beautiful thing from the Kabrina, Tzchusi Yagan Aleinu. And he says, the Pasuk tells us in our Parsha here, V'rochatzu yedehem v'ragleihem. They should wash their hands and their feet. Yedehem, says the Nesivos Shalom from the Kabrina, it represents the midos of a person. Before you come to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before you have an audience with Hashem, before you actually come to serve Hashem, you need to clean up your midos. A person has to have good midos, and yedehem, the hands of a person, the outer part of a person, are a person's midos, and ragleihem are something else. Ragleihem are the things that we have become rugil with. We have become, it has become habitual to us. It's a habit to us. It's the way we go about our lives, and they become like a habit. So before a person goes in, when you come to the Oyel Moed, when a person comes to learn Torah, when a person comes to daven, when a person comes to avodas Hashem, the pasuk tells us, says the Kabrina, v'rochatzu yedehem v'ragleihem. First, clean up your midos. A person needs to have good midos. You need to be a bal midos. Hashem doesn't want to have an audience with a person who hasn't thought about having good midos. And besides that, you need to prepare also some of the bad habits that we may have developed, v'rachatzu yedehem, your midos, v'ragleihem, and your habits. And that's the preparation to serve Hashem. Having good midos and working on habits that may not be so good. And we see, especially in Chassidish Svarim, there's a very great emphasis placed on hachana, preparing to serve Hashem. Nesivos Shalom says, just to end off, an answer to the question, why at the beginning, we mentioned at the beginning of this year that it seems that the things that were outside the Mishkan, the Kiyar, the Mizbeach and Nechoshes, all these things before you entered the Mishkan, they were all made out of Nechoshes. And Nesivos Shalom ties it into the Vart that we just said. And he says like this, Nechoshes, part of the word Nechoshes is the word Nachash. The word Nachash, we know from Parshas Bereshis, the Nachash that advised, the Nachash which became the lowest creature. And Nesivos Shalom tells us that it's telling us that the Nechoshes, that before a person enters, you're even able, we can get strength, we can wash ourselves off and get strength for every single part of our body, for every part of our being, even the Nachash. Even the lowest part, a person may have been and done things that are not good at all, and things which we would look at as very negative and very low. Comes the Mizbeach HaNechoshes, the Kiyar which was made out of Nechoshes, to say that if you're ready to prepare yourself, if you're ready to work on it, you can work on it even the things that are on the lowest level. So we see how great preparation is, and not only that, if a person's ready to improve their midos, if a person is ready to break bad habits, if a person is ready to prepare themselves for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then even the Nechoshes, even the things which may be very low, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ready and giving us the opportunities. The water is right there. The kiyar is right there. Hashem is giving us the opportunities before you come in. Here are the tools. Here are the things to prepare yourself. Let's learn the lessons and understand that when we want to come close to Hashem, we have a Yontiv of Purim. By the time you watch the shir, it'll be after Purim, but we'll still be reverberating Shushan Purim. On Purim, we get an opportunity on Shushan Purim to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It requires a little bit preparation. Let's take on ourselves to wash ourselves, to become better in our midos and better all around. So Hashem will accept every one of us.